easier than most people, but they could run faster. So if I'm running at 90 miles an hour, they're running at 60. They just, you know, but I could run 200 miles if I needed to. Well, it wasn't no problem. Distance, same thing in all of this. The distance is no problem. It's a problem for other people. It's a problem for other people. Plus, Allah train you for the distance that you want. It's good for you. It's good for you. And you work that distance. You run that distance. You do everything according to longevity. Even you say, well, I want to be around another 25 years. So you adjust your schedule. You know what I mean? That's a 25-year schedule. So some people are looking, you ought to do this, you ought to do that. I said, I'm confident that I'm going to live another 25 years. I'm 75, I'll live at least to 100, maybe more, who knows? Now remember, I almost don't care. I wouldn't mind, but that's just the way I'm thinking. That's the way I actually feel. I feel that in 15 years from now, when I'm 90, they're going to call me somewhere to give a big speech on how we did this, what we're doing right now. It don't make no difference, because if you're grateful for goodness, grace of life, I'm telling y'all, this thing about grateful, there's a lot of stuff you got to do, but one of them that you have to do, or you should do, is be grateful to Allah. Now suppose you've been all over the world, been involved in everything that's current, that's going on. When there's black people, you in that. When there's dope, you in that. You know what I mean? When there's revival, you may be in the revival by yourself, everybody. Or you may be part of a group that they pull out the American flag and start waving it and you have to leave. But everything else you do is almost the same. And you look around today, you say, what happened? What happened? But no, it ain't what happened. You can see what happened. You know. Leader made a mistake. The leader would say himself, I'm not into that martyrdom stuff. You know. And the leader may be up on the stage and he turned around and he got all the big shots, Fahim Shuaib and all them people down in Texas, the Imam down there. Anyway, and he turned around and he said, they're not with me. He said it twice. I know once in 85 and later on up in the modern years. So they're not with me, they for themselves. Everybody around him wasn't none of them for themselves. One of the guys out there with me, big school, big Elijah Muhammad Cultural Center, big houses for nurseries, all of that, they bought them cash. I walked in there some years back and it said mortgage up, they got a loan on it. Up till now, they can't use the place. They lost it. The guy lived up there by where my house used to be. Up in the hills, overlooking Oakland. So man, of course you'd be knowing it. People steal everything. What I mean is, if you keep your focus and thanks-laden body in the direction of Allah, it ain't nothing nobody can do. Everything helps. And part of that is a reminder that, look, it's not your job to make them do nothing. If Allah wanted to make them, he'd have made them like angels. They would have just just believed, then you wouldn't have the ability to fly above the angels. If you didn't have a challenge, right? Allah's creation is perfect. You read this Qur'an, hey man, the more you learn, the heavier it gets. I'm just telling you, the more you learn about everything, the heavier the Qur'an gets. It gets heavier and heavier every year, all the time. And it don't make no difference. It grows right along with you. So the focus in doing good for people. If the Quran, if the Hadith say about admonishing people, and then there's a group of people that get with the people, though they don't admonish them, and then they get with them. That's not this. This is influencing for the doing of good, to make America a better place. Not being diverted by focusing on things that you know would be a diversion. And you know if that comes up, you're not going to be able to influence the direction of change. And remember, influence the direction of change, not tell everybody what to do. As we always said that we have, if it's 10 things that we want, if we get to choose one of the 10, all we would say is we don't want our future society, we don't want any rebel. We don't want any rebel. Now, that's our 1 out of 10. Whatever else y'all want to do, that's up to you. We're going to do our Islam. But whatever else y'all want to do, now if you happen to ask us, we would start adding in and suggesting, but not one of the biggest and the saddest things is the mental dictatorship that people want to tell everybody what to do. And after people challenge them a little while, sincerely, or even when they challenge them just to be nasty, it makes them, that nastiness makes them change. It makes them change. Fidel Castro was a good guy. He died a good guy. But after a while, he did things that they weren't counter-revolutionary, but he did a few things that wouldn't fit in the revolutionary pattern. It wasn't bad, I'm saying this, because he's a human being. But he would tell people, if he was working on a farm, he'd tell you this is the best thing to do, that's not. When the Prophet ﷺ told the people about grafting grapes, he said, what do you graft grapes on? Yeah, we just tie them together, then they produce more grapes that way. Grafting. He said, I don't like that. The next year, they didn't have as many grapes. He said, you know more about that dunya than I do. So he let them keep doing it. He didn't dictate and make them, hey, you're a farmer, you know more about that than I do. Okay. America the good. Islam light. Even Islam light, we don't want people to be forced, overly forced. Of course, we have to keep the law. All these laws are on the books. All of them is on the books about Islam. But focusing on the implementation, the slide backwards from that strictness of Islam in Iran shows that they made the proper methodology, although they went backwards to it instead of going forward to it. Now, as history travels forward, they will probably, balance off between the two. A little more more strictness in some things, a little lighter on the other. The different presidents can have a policy of more or less openness in certain type of activities, right? And some will be a little tighter, but they'll all be within the framework of Islam. Okay. Now, here in America, to make America the good, and we play the proper role in it, we have to make the proper assessment. The proper assessment or analysis so far is that we have seen and know from the very beginning, and so do some of us here. We know that if you look 20 years ago, who was participating in some of these programs? We look at where they are now. If they're on news, or they're on alternative media, how did they get there? We already see. So that means Boss Man got that media, alternative media, he got the whole show. And the Muslims, this commentary comes from Maulana Maududi, ICNA, Islamic Circle of North America. They're followers of Maulana Maududi. When they first came here, the first Imam that I worked with, he was in Sacramento. He told me a couple of years ago, he said, man, you're still on the road. In other words, he'd been knowing me for over 40 years, so he's in semi-retirement. Not semi-retirement, he's in real retirement. Had been there, but he still performed marriages and stuff. When I went to Pakistan in 89, he gave me a letter of introduction. To Jamaat Islami, I'm going to go to the headquarters in Mansoura, and I went there. And he gave me a letter of introduction with the surah. He used to stay on the compound. When ICNA, Islamic Circle of North America, first came over here in the 80s, Maulana Maududi had told him during his lifetime, he might have passed away in 79, something like that. He told him to come to the Negro. That's why you see ICNA has a lot of stuff with Negroes even today. But how about the one that has Maulana Maududi? He actually uses it, and you can see that this is okay. You have to be able to put up with that easy. You can't be, no, you have to be able to put up with it easily. Because remember, gratefulness, you're grateful for whatever Allah brings you. So all of this stuff is great. And if it ain't great, you turn it to something, this is fine. Hey man, it's a big deal. And moving toward a close, influence in the direction of change, meaning that we can apply everything we've learned to make America a better place. Can you imagine even, you know, when As-Sabiqun, who's better in speech ones that call people to Allah with righteous deeds and says, I'm a Muslim, and then they repel evil with good. That's what they want to do. And then the same family of people that's been causing them all the trouble, right? That's what we do. We say, what? We want to become warm and fuzzy friends. That's good. But that's what the Qur'an said. It's not no extra feather in our cap for, you know, oh, we figured that out. We're great. No. That's what Allah tells you to do. Why? It's there because That's what's needed now to go where we want to go. When we deal with ayats, we're working with Christians and Jews and everything, whether Yahud, whether Nasara, As-Sabiqun, whoever believe in Allah in the last day and work righteousness will have no fear with Allah, nor shall he grieve, right? They're going to get their reward with Allah. Those are the things we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on those things. If our brothers is running crazy, not running crazy, remember, we have to love them too. We have to love those Negroes, those people. Yeah, you have to fix yourself up so well, okay, I'll do it. I love you too. Right? That's what it says. Right? Remember, we're not making nothing up extra. It's all right here, right? This is our duty, it's our responsibility. The only thing is, once you read it, you say, oh, my goodness. And the first time you read it, you may not understand it. When we read these things, we understood exactly what they meant at that time. Like I say, this copy was from 1990 when I was doing it. But the first that I don't have with me right now was 88, 87. I read this Tafsir 3 times. Well, I read more than that. I think the first time I didn't take no notes. I just read Yusuf Ali and I read this. And man, after it was over, I said, this is a serious Tafsir, you know. Because it has so much in it. You know, I can bring it apart. You know, on the fear prayer, it has a fear prayer. It has how to perform the fear prayer. It has all that other stuff in it. You know, it has all kind of little good stuff in it. You know why Maulana Maududi was active? Maulana Maududi in our time was considered a mujaddid. He was considered, before Imam Khomeini, he was considered, Maulana Maududi passed away at the beginning of the revolution. I think it was 79. He was considered a reviver, a renewer, you know. Yeah, he sure was. That was his status. I wrap this up by saying, you know, we have Yaqeen, Ilm al-Yaqeen. Ilm al-Yaqeen is when Ibrahim, Esau, and them, they asked for something from Allah. And especially in Ibrahim's case, he said, I just wanted to have Yaqeen. I want to be certain. You don't know that? Yes, I do. You don't believe that? Yes, yes, yes. But I want to tell the people, I've seen this myself. I know what I'm talking about. Right? That's the same thing with this stuff. I don't care whatever which it happens sometimes. Everybody, you wouldn't believe it. I'll take you back to 88. In 88, we was at ISNA headquarters. Everybody, all the Negro leaders was there. Imam Jamil was there. Imam from up in New York was there. What's the name that do all the picture taking that used to be down at AMC? He's up in Philadelphia now. Fareed was there. Fareed was taking pictures. Fareed have a copy of it. I asked him if he got a copy of it. He never coughed it up. So, we was down making wudu, and so at that time, we wasn't using the fountain next to the wudu. We was in the hammam, see the bathroom was here, and then the sinks is out there. So I was in the bathroom part. Then there was a guy called Sheikh Kidder. He'd been over to study Arabic. Red freckle face looking guy. I first met him in 81, out in California. He come out there for a visit. So Aladeen from New York came in, and he was managing the program. He said, yeah, Musa's going to be up next, because he said after the Maghrib, Imam Musa's going to talk. Yeah, Musa's going to be next, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And Kidder is saying, he couldn't see me because I was in the hammam part. You see what I mean? So he just running it. And Kidder, I'm visualizing, I'm not looking at Kidder. I could open a thing and I'll be touching him. I'm that close to everybody. And he changes his tone, but he's giving me the idea of how this is all set up. When I come up to speak, what they're going to do. And that all happens. So I get up to speak. And they got the guy do the African, before Columbus. And
Quick.
Abdullah Hakim Quick. I'm telling you, everybody was there. So I got up and I was talking, and then I said, well, I asked some questions. What is an Islamic State? Is Iran an Islamic State? Are the Shias Muslims, and should we support them? That might not be it, but those 4 questions. Boy, the stuff hit the fan. And so, they was running that, and Abdullah Hakim Quick says, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. I said, that's why I asked the question now, because last year you was in here talking about Shias, and you went to school in Saudi Arabia, and you the police. Well, I used to call people the police in those days, you know, you're younger. Say, yeah, you the police, you know, anyway. He didn't say I ain't the police, he just, anyway, they turned around. They physically, they all just turned their back. I said, that ain't nothing. I said, the white man gonna stick his foot in all y'all's behind. I didn't say y'all, I said our behind. And the other thing is one of our famous imams